In this lecture, I'll be talking about fat embolism syndrome. So, what are fat emboli? Fat emboli are fat particles or droplets that can travel through circulation. Fat embolism is the process by which the fat emboli pass into the bloodstream and lodge into a blood vessel. And fat embolism syndrome is a serious manifestation of this fat embolism, which occasionally causes multi-system dysfunction in which the lungs and the brain are often affected. It was first described in the mid 1800s and currently carries a mortality of 5 to 15%. The most common association is with long bone or pelvic fractures. It is most commonly seen in closed fractures, orthopedic surgeries, liposuction procedures, burns, and extensive soft tissue injuries. Non-traumatic causes include pancreatitis, diabetes mellitus, osteomyelitis, bone tumor lysis syndrome, use of steroids, fatty liver, cyclosporin administration, and lipid infusion. Out of all these causes, the most common cause is a closed fracture of a shaft of femur, which is commonly seen in the orthopedics emergency. We must be very careful while evaluating shaft of femur fractures. Fat embolism syndrome typically manifests within 12 to 24 hours after the initial insult, but can also manifest as late as 2 weeks. The most common cause is blunt trauma. There are three hypotheses. The first is the mechanical hypothesis, in which there is obstruction to the vessels and capillaries by the fat droplets. In this, the increase in the intramedullary pressure forces the fat and marrow into the bloodstream, which then enter the venous system and lodge in the lungs as emboli. The smaller fat droplets may travel through the pulmonary capillaries into systemic circulation and cause cerebral vessel or renal vessel embolization as well, leading to CNS effects and renal dysfunction. The biochemical theory states that there is a biochemical basis of the disease. In this, the fat which enters the bloodstream is broken down into free fatty acids, which hydrolyzes and causes ARDS in the lungs. In the coagulation theory, the thromboplastin released after trauma activates the complement system and then causes a coagulation cascade, which causes the symptoms. Fat embolism syndrome has a classical triad of hypoxemia, neurologic abnormalities, and a petechial rash. Petechial rash, which is pathognomic. Early findings include dyspnea, tachypnea, hypoxemia. Neurological findings are confusion, seizures, focal neurological deficit, and even coma. In the late stages, the petechial rash may be seen in head, neck, thorax, in the subconjunctival region and axilla, and can resolve within 5 to 7 days. The characteristic feature of this disease is a petechial rash, which is seen in 50 to 60% of patients with FES. This is more commonly seen in light-skinned individuals, and it has a characteristic distribution which is secondary to the embolization of the fat in the chest, neck, axilla, and oral mucous membranes as well as axilla. The characteristic distribution is a shawl-like distribution which you can see here between the neck, arm, nipples, and chest region. This is because the emboli are floating like oil on water in a non-dependent vasculature. That is why the findings are seen in the upper trunk. The diagnosis of fat embolism is based purely on clinical presentation. To make it easier, GERDS has described a criteria in which there is a major criteria and a minor criteria. Major criteria is petechial rash, respiratory insufficiency, and cerebral involvement. One of these three is necessary for a diagnosis. In the minor criteria, any four should be present in the patient. These include tachycardia with more than 120 beats per minute, fever, retinal changes in the form of fat or petechiae seen in the retina, jaundice, renal signs like anuria or oliguria, thrombocytopenia, anemia, along with a high ESR and fat macroglobulinemia. Radiology is not very specific. The chest X-ray is normal in most patients and there may be some snowstorm appearance later in the disease. The VQO shows mottled pattern of subsegmental perfusion defects with a normal ventilatory pattern. Chest CT may show focal areas of ground glass opacification and interlobar septal thickening. A brain MRI may be done to detect emboli in the brain, and PET scan may show an altered cerebral blood flow. To prevent fat embolism syndrome, by splinting the fracture, we are immobilizing it, which prevents further movements and further dislodgement and trauma. We should go in for an early fracture stabilization either in the form of an external fixator or in the form of traction, and oxygen therapy is a must. The treatment for fat embolism includes airway breathing circulation and electrolyte balance. Oxygen is given to correct hypoxemia. Mechanical ventilatory assistance may be required in patients who are unable to maintain their respiratory effort. Fluid restriction and diuretics may be considered. N-acetylcysteine can also be considered as treatment. The main therapy remains IV steroids, which is IV methylprednisolone, at the rate of 10 mg per kg per day in 3 divided doses, 8 hourly for 2 days. We must always wait for the patient to become stable before we consider surgery. Early fracture fixation is optimal as it decreases pulmonary complication, it decompresses the fracture hematoma and decreases the pain and the physiological stress. While if we delay the fixation, there is increased chance of pulmonary dysfunction. On this note, we must remember that in case of femur fractures, there is a very high chance of fat embolism. A typical picture will be a young patient will come to you with a shaft of femur fracture. The patient will be managed initially with appropriate splintage and will be planned for surgery. But within 24 to 48 hours, you will notice that the patient may become confused, the patient may develop respiratory distress, and the patient may also develop the rash. In such cases, fat embolism syndrome must be suspected and the patient should be started on appropriate treatment. In case of femur fractures, you should wait for 24 to 48 hours before appropriate treatment to allow the window for fat embolism syndrome to finish. Now, regarding the type of fracture fixation, that is also controversial whether we should use intramedullary nails which should be reamed or unreamed. It has been seen that there has been an increased pulmonary dysfunction with reamed technique because while reaming, we are also dislodging the intramedullary fat which has already contributed previously to the fat embolism. In a nail which is reamed versus plate, there was no difference in pulmonary dysfunction. Most patients improve spontaneously and they often return to normal in 5 to 7 days. The mortality rate is 10 to 20% and long-term morbidity is often associated with cerebral complications. These are my references. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thank you.